All right, this is the review for indicator 5. We are taking this quiz tomorrow. So if you're watching this online, you need to email me and let me know which of the 3 time slots you will be logging into a video call to take the quiz. Everybody else here in person will take it in class tomorrow. All right, so we're going to do the odds, and then you guys are going to do the evens, okay? So makes it a whole lot less for you to do, plus it gives us a chance to review and talk through the thought process. Because when you get your quiz tomorrow, it's going to look almost identical to this, only it's got a few less problems, okay? So the first thing you want to do is, more than any other indicator in math, this indicator's instructions are extremely important because every single little section, there's going to be a different form you're being asked to get to. So you really want to pay attention. So I like to mark it up in some way. So I'm going to put my little yellow highlighter here. So I like to either underline it or highlight it or whatever you need to do. Just so, well, maybe if I can make it work. My highlighter's not working. Well, I guess I'll underline it. Works for me. All right, so notate in some way what it is you're trying to get to. So here, I'm trying to get to point slope form. Okay, that's my end goal. And so if you need to, right above that, you can write what point slope is. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? That's your end goal. And the nice thing about these is they want it in point slope form, and then they give you a point and a slope. So it's kind of nice. They give you everything you need. So we've got x1 here, y1, and our m, right? We need all 3 things that we need to write this equation. So y minus our y, which is 3, equals our m, x minus our x. That's it. They want it in point slope, they give you a point slope. Pretty straightforward, okay? The only thing you need to remember here is if your x or your y is negative, make sure it's y minus a minus or x minus a minus, make sure it goes positive. So like in number 2, your y value is negative, so it'd be y minus a minus, so it'd be plus 3, okay? All right, number 3 also wants it in point slope form. Okay, so that's what I'm shooting for. And it just says write the point slope form of the equation of the line through the given points. Now, for point slope form, we need a point and we need a slope. We do not have a slope, so we need to know what m equals before we can do this. So we're going to take our points, x1, y1, and x2 and y2. I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. That's really hard to write. Okay, so we've got m equals, our y2 is 0 minus a minus 4 goes plus. Our x2 is negative 4 minus a minus 5 goes plus. On the top, 0 plus 4 is 4. On the bottom, negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1, so that reduces to 4. So our slope, or our m, is 4. Now you have 2 options here. Both are equally right. I'm going to write them both, but on the quiz, you do not have to write them both. Pick one. Okay, I'm going to start, and I'm going to use this set of points. Okay, we're going to start going around the room. Camden, will you tell me what to write if we're using the red set of points that I just boxed?
Y plus 4.
Good. Okay. Now, what I like to do is right when I box it, go back up to your instructions and look and see, are you in the form they want? Okay, because it's going to change. Okay, good. All right, this one, write the slope-intercept form. Okay, so that's where we're heading. I'm going to write this to remind myself this is where I'm going. Just helps keep you straight. Slope-intercept form, that's where I'm heading. Dylan, what's my first step here? Yep, good. We're going to distribute. So we've got y minus 3 equals 2/3 times x is just 2/3 x. And then you've got a positive 2/3 times a negative 3. So you know no matter what, your product's going to be negative. So I'm going to put that negative there right now. Now, if you need to, out to the side, you can take 2/3 times 3 over 1. The 3's cross-reduce, and you're left with 2 over 1, which is 2. So 2/3 times 3 is 2, and we already determined it's negative, right, because it's a positive times a negative. And then still trying to get to y equals mx plus b, I'm going to add 3 and add 3. And so I get y equals 2/3 x, negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. Am I in what was asked of me, which was slope-intercept form? I am, so that's my final answer that I'm going to box. Before you put your final box or circle around your answer, just double check that you're doing it in the form that this particular problem asks for. Okay? All right. Number 7 says write let's see, write the slope-intercept form of the equation given the point and the slope. So again, I'm going to remind myself what I'm shooting for here. And this is where you can choose however you want to do it. Okay, there's 2 different ways you can do this. You're given a point and a slope. So you can start in point slope form, plug it in, do a little distribution, and get it in y equals mx plus b. Or you can do what we did at the beginning of the week, which is find your b. And either way, you're going to get the same answer. I'm going to go ahead and plug into point slope form. I'm given a point, I'm given a slope. To me, that's the easiest way. So I've got y minus a minus 3, which goes plus, equals my slope, x minus a minus 4, which goes plus. Michaela, what's going to be my next step? Okay, I'm distributing. So I get y plus 3 equals negative 6x. And remember, you're distributing that negative 6 to both, so that's negative 24. And Jake, what's my next step if I'm trying to get y by itself? Yep, subtract 3 and subtract 3. And I get y equals negative 6x, negative 24, and more negative 3. 2 negatives go deeper negative. So I get negative 27. All right, they wanted slope-intercept. Is this slope-intercept? Y equals mx plus b. I'm good. I can square it. All right. Bryn, the directions say write it in slope-intercept form given 2 points. So here we go. This is what we're shooting for. What's my first step? Yeah, I have to find m. Can't do anything with a linear equation without the m. And we've got our x1, our y1, our x2, and our y2. So we're going to start plugging everything in. Y2 is negative 3 minus 0, which is our y1. X2 is 0 minus our x1, which is 3. Well, negative 3 minus 0 is negative 3. And 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Dakota, what's negative 3 divided by negative 3? Positive 1. So my m is, a positive 1. Now, I still don't have a b, right? I need y equals mx plus b, which means I need an m I just found, and I need a b. Again, you can do it either way. Since I have a point and a slope, I could do that. I could take one of those points and plug it into y equals mx plus b. But on this one, there's actually a shortcut. What is it? Anybody recognize it? Yeah, this right here, this point 0, negative 3, that's a gift. That's a gimme. When x is 0, your b equals whatever the y value is. So in this particular one, you could plug it into point slope form. You could find your b, or you could recognize they give you your b and you have all the information because they want it in slope intercept form. We now have a slope and an intercept. So we can write y equals our slope, which is 1, x minus 3, which is our b. You can write the 1. You don't have to. Doesn't matter. They wanted slope intercept. We're in slope intercept. Okay. Now, number 10 doesn't give you the gift of the b. So you have to decide if you want to find your b or if you want to plug into point slope form and then maneuver everything around, okay? That's up to you. All right, Grace, for number 11, the directions say standard form, and standard form is AX plus BY equals C. So what's my first step here? Yep, got to distribute. And when I distribute, I get y minus 3 equals negative 2/5 times x is just negative 2/5 x. And then again, you've got a negative times a positive. So I know my product's going to be negative. I can do that before I do even any math. And then out to the side, if you need to, 2/5 times 5/1. The 5's reduce, and I'm left with 2/1 or just 2. So minus 2. Okay, Laura, what's my next step? Okay, I'm going to add 3 and add 3, get all those combined, so I get y equals negative 2/5 x. Negative 2 plus 3 is a positive 1. Okay, Shayna, what's next? What do I want to get rid of? What can't you have on an x? Can't have a fraction, so we're going to get rid of that, right? All right, when you get rid of a fraction, you multiply by the denominator of the fraction. When I do that, I'm going to write it on both sides to remind myself, and then I'm going to put a little squiggly line through that 5, because that reminds me that everything gets that 5. So 5 times y is 5y equals, when I take out that 5 on the bottom, I'm still left with negative 2. You don't lose your numerator. Negative 2x. And then 5 times 1 is positive 5. Okay, Taylor, what's next? Yep, add 2x to both sides, and I get positive 2x, positive 5y equals positive 5. Am I in standard? My 2's positive, it's not a fraction, it's in the right spot, so there's standard. Okay. Any questions on this first page? It's just a matter of realizing what the directions say, where you need to end up, and then starting with whatever you've got. Okay? All right. We're going to do number 13 and 15, and there's a very specific reason why I want to do number 15. It's not something we actually covered in class, but it'll come into play when we start graphing these. So the directions just say find the slope. Pretty straightforward. Don't even have to put it in a linear form after that. Just find the slope. So we've got x1 and y1, x2 and y2. So we've got m equals y2 is 5, minus a minus 12 goes plus. X2 is negative 15, and minus a minus 15 goes plus. Well, on top, you've got 5 plus 12 is 17. And on bottom, negative 15 plus positive 15 is 0. Can you have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction in math? That is a big math no-no. So your answer here is undefined. And there is one like this on your quiz. If you have a 0 on the bottom, that's a big math taboo. Okay, you cannot have a 0 on the bottom. Can you have a 0 on the top? Now, this is not the answer to this, so you don't even have to write this down. But what if I had gotten my 0 on top? What would that reduce to? What's 0 on top? Just 0. A slope can be 0, and that's fine. But if you have a 0 on the bottom, just write undefined. And I'll remind you of that tomorrow because it's not something we've really dealt with a whole lot this last week. So I will remind you of that tomorrow when you're taking the quiz. All right. So now let's do one that doesn't turn out funky and undefined. So we've got x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, we're just naming our pairs. And then let's plug into the slope formula, which is y2 minus a minus 20. So that goes positive. And then x2 minus 7. Well, negative 4 and positive 20 is positive 16. Always take the sign of the bigger number, and 20 is bigger, so your answer is going to be positive. And then 2 minus 7 is going to be negative 5 because you subtract and you take the sign of the bigger. And so your slope, if you want to rewrite it with the negative out front, you can. If you don't have to. But this is your slope, m equals. Okay? All right, this has taken us back a whole week, so this might have dropped from your memory, but the instructions say find the x and the y intercepts. Well, we need to remind ourselves that we've got x and y intercepts. They're a point, all right? What is the y value for the x-intercept always? 0. So for the x-intercept in the y spot, you can always put a 0. Now, if we put a 0 in for y, we can plug a 0 in for y in the equation. And when we do that, 3 times 0 is 0, and so we get x equals negative 6. So our x-intercept is negative 6. And the point is negative 6, 0, because the y is always 0. Now on the y-intercept, what's the x value? Nope, that's up top. On the y-intercept, the x is always 0. So I'm going to erase what we did for the x-intercept. So now we're going to look for the y-intercept, which means we come in here and we put a 0 in where there's an x. And now we solve for the y because we're trying to find the y-intercept. So we divide by negative 3 on both sides, and we get y equals negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. So our y-intercept is 2, or the point 0, 2. So for intercepts, think intersections, and the only way for your line to intersect and intercept is if the opposite point is 0. Okay? Any question on that? All right. These are sweet. The directions say write the slope intercept, right? That's the M and the B. Slope intercept. What do they give you? They give you the slope and they give you the intercept. No math required, just plug it into where they go. So you've got y equals M x b. Remember, every linear equation has a generic x and y. These are nice, right? These are just gimme. They wanted slope intercept. They gave me slope intercept. I wrote it in slope intercept. All right. Now on tomorrow's quiz, the directions for the ones like this give you the first step. So hopefully I'll make you critically think for a second. All right, so this says state the slope and the y-intercept. Well, my slope is my m and my y-intercept is my b. But it's in standard form. So how do I find my slope and my intercept if it's in standard form? Can I put it in slope-intercept form? And then I'll know my m and my b, right? So where did I leave off? Mary, what would I need to move here first to start getting this in slope-intercept? And remember, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. Yeah. So let's get this all over in the right spot. So I'm going to subtract 2x and subtract 2x. And when I do that, I'm left with negative 7y equals negative 2x plus 28. Order matters here. Make sure you put your x value first. And then I want to keep going to get the y by itself. So that means I'm going to divide by negative 7 all the way across the board. All three get that, right? Be fair here. And I get y equals negative 2 over negative 7. Clean that up a little bit. 2 double negatives, don't leave them double negative. 2 negatives go positive. So 2 7's x. And then positive 28 divided by negative 7 is negative 4. Now, I'm not done. Okay, I've wrote it in slope-intercept form, but the directions said state the slope and state the y-intercept. So my answer needs to be m equals and b equals. What's my m equal? Anybody? 2 over 7. And what's my b equal? Negative 4. And that's my answer. And on the quiz, it actually says write the equation in slope-intercept form and state the slope and the intercept. So it gives you the little hint of you got to write it in slope-intercept form first and then identify your M and your B once you're in slope-intercept form. So for tomorrow's quiz, every question is worth 3 points. And on the very last one, which is this one, you're going to have to write it in slope-intercept form and then state your slope and your intercept. So that's 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. So if you just stop with writing it in y equals mx plus b and you don't actually write m equals and b equals, on that one problem, there's only one that asks you to identify or state the slope and the intercept, okay, you'll miss 2 points. So make sure you read your directions carefully. All right, any questions on any of the odd ones that we did together? Okay, the even ones are due tomorrow before the quiz. So when you come in, keep your review with you. I'll give you maybe 5 minutes to do a quick Q&A on anything you want confirmation on, and then we'll start the quiz. If you're online, make sure you submit this review by tomorrow before you take the quiz, and then let me know what time you will be logging into a video call in order to take the quiz online. Okay? As always, email me if you have any questions.